When Barry Hall is not even top of this list, you know it's serious. These are the 8 scariest players in AFL history. David Rees-Jones was a hard-nosed wingman known for his ruthless approach on the field, despite being mild-mannered off it. As one of the Swans who migrated from South Melbourne to Sydney and later playing for the Blues, he built a reputation for not backing down from a confrontation. Rees-Jones was known for living by the motto, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, meaning any slight niggle from an opponent was met with fierce retaliation. He wasn't one to shy away from a challenge, and if you got under his skin, you could be sure he'd repay it tenfold. His approach to the game was as tough as they come, earning him a spot on this list of the scariest players in AFL history. Kyle Diderick, a powerful and athletic ruckman, was notorious for his volatile temperament on the field. His aggression led to a staggering 19 reports and 17 suspensions over his career, a reflection of just how physical and ruthless he was. In the 60s and 70s, players weren't typically reported for minor infractions, meaning Diderick's disciplinary record is all the more impressive. His confrontational style often crossed the line, and while he might not have been at the very top of the list, his on-field actions were unforgettable. If the full extent of his infamous moments were more widely remembered, he could easily have pushed into the upper echelons of the scariest players in AFL history. Ron Andrews, known as Rotten Ronnie, was a no-nonsense enforcer who played primarily as a backman for Essendon and briefly for Collingwood. His aggressive playing style made him a feared presence on the field. After suffering a knee injury in 1978, Andrews lost some of his speed and mobility, but that didn't stop him from making an impact, literally. With little turning ability, he adopted a straight-line approach, ploughing through anyone in his way. As Essendon's enforcer, Andrews was a physical force, often resorting to rough tactics. His on-field aggression earned him numerous suspensions, totaling 24 games, making him one of the AFL's scariest players. Byron Pickett may not have been the tallest player on the field, but he was built like a brick wall. Compact and incredibly powerful, Pickett was known for his ferocious attack on the ball and on his opponents. While his playing style was legal, his hits were terrifying. He had a knack for delivering bone-crunching hip and shoulder bumps that left opposition players reeling. Despite staying within the rules most of the time, Pickett's physicality made him one of the most feared players of his era. Although he had a few minor suspensions throughout his career, Pickett was widely regarded as one of the fairer players in this list. His brutal style of play was mostly clean, but his ability to consistently cause damage earned him a reputation as one of the toughest and scariest players to ever play the game. Robert Muir, known as Mad Dog, played for the St Kilda Saints in 3 separate stints during the late 1970s and early 1980s. A talented but volatile player, Muir's career was marked by both his impressive skills and his infamous on-field outbursts. Muir was subjected to prolonged racial abuse and taunting throughout his career, which undoubtedly contributed to his reputation as a fiery and unpredictable player. While it's important to acknowledge the context of the bigotry he faced, Muir's responses were often explosive. When he got fired up, Muir was a force of nature, uncontrollable and unstoppable. He would lash out at anyone in his path, whether they were bigger, smaller, or even the umpires. His temper would see him take on multiple opponents at once, often with devastating consequences. Known as Big Bad Barry, Barry Hall played for the St Kilda Saints, Sydney Swans and Western Bulldogs from 1996 to 2011. His presence on the field and his fiery nature ensured he became one of the most feared players in recent AFL history. Hall wasn't just a bruiser though, he was a junior boxing champion, and he transferred those skills to the footy field, often with devastating results. His hard-hitting style saw him dominate contests physically, but it also led to some notorious moments of ill discipline. Perhaps his most infamous incident occurred in 2008 when Hall delivered a brutal one-punch knockout to West Coast's Brent Staker, hitting him square on the jaw. The punch became an international highlight, or lowlight, and is still remembered as one of the clearest examples of a brain fade on the field. Another moment that showcased Hall's temper came when North Melbourne's Scott Thompson cheekily nudged Hall while he was tying his shoelace. Hall responded by grabbing Thompson in a sleeper hold, making it clear that he didn't tolerate any sort of gamesmanship. Thompson probably didn't expect to push Hall quite that far, but he certainly felt the consequences. As an AFL administrator, Neil Baum is known for his calm and steady influence, helping turn around the fortunes of teams like Collingwood, Geelong and Richmond, contributing to a combined 7 premierships during his time at these clubs. His positive demeanour has made him a go-to figure in times of media scrutiny. If Richmond is in trouble with the press, they roll out Baum, and his calm approach eases the tension. But the Neil Baum who played footy was a different story altogether. In his playing days, Baum was a big, aggressive unit who wasn't afraid to throw his weight around, literally. He had a reputation for using his size to dominate opponents, and his physical style left a lasting impression on the game. Baum's most infamous moment came in the 1973 Grand Final against Carlton, a match filled with bad blood as Richmond sought revenge for their 1972 loss to the Blues. Some say Baum's actions in this game were premeditated, as he laid out Carlton's Vin Waite and Jeff Southby in a series of brutal hits that helped set the tone for Richmond's victory. Although many deny it was intentional, the biff Baum dished out that day is remembered as pivotal to the Tigers' success. Lethal Lee Matthews is often hailed as one of the greatest players in AFL history, but his legacy isn't just about his skill, it's about his unmatched toughness and brutal physicality. His status as a hard man is undisputed, even if his ranking as the best player ever is up for debate. Despite his relatively short stature, Matthews was built like a tank, barrel-chested with strong arms, packing a lot of power into his frame. This strength was on full display in one of the more iconic moments of his career, when he collided with a point post and the post literally broke on impact. Few could match his raw physicality. Matthews wasn't just tough, he was downright mean at times. Known for retaliatory strikes as well as unprovoked acts of aggression, his style of play could be described as ruthless. His infamous king hits on Barry Cable, Peter Giles, and Stuart Trott, and his brutal double knee drop on Ken Hunter are just a few examples of his more notorious on-field conduct. Perhaps the most infamous incident of Matthews' career came in 1974 during a State of Origin game. South Australian legend Barry Robran's career was effectively ended after Matthews' willful and avoidable charge. The incident is still remembered by South Australians to this day. Matthews' toughest moment, however, is tied to his 1985 assault on Geelong's Neville Bronze. Off the ball, Matthews delivered a king hit that broke Bronze's jaw, leading to Matthews being charged with assault, making him the only VFL AFL player to face legal charges for an on-field incident. He was convicted and fined, but after appealing, the sentence was downgraded to a 12-month good behaviour bond. The VFL also suspended him for a month. Which of these players was the scariest? Tell me in the comments.